Okay. Okay.
Mel Kaario, welcome to the Empower Network. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here, Amos.
We have a little bit of history, and you are well aware of what's going on in the Empower Network. You've been there since the beginning, and I really appreciate you. You're someone that's tremendously impacted my life. You're the one that introduced me to the Bossy assessment, which we made a couple of videos about, which has changed my life and all my relationships. You're also just a great all-around guy.
Oh, shucks. Okay. Yeah. For those of you who remember the Pillsbury Doughboy, I just felt like I just got poked in the tummy. Thank you, Amos. That's very kind of you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you have a lovely wife, Yun Suk.
Yes, I do. She's lovely.
She makes you amazing Korean food.
She speaks Korean to me when I need a good talking to. And sometimes I don't know what she's saying, which is kind of freaky, but she does. And I would call her my VP of operations. She runs our house like clockwork. She is a professional artist. She's upstairs painting right now, doing a dog portrait. She got an order for her, and she is a delight to me. Yeah, we've been married 26 years now.
26 years. You have a little cat named Onyx. Is the Onyx still in your office?
No, he probably got a little perturbed at my putting him on camera a minute ago, and he's left the house, it seems.
Well, and you've also been a coach. Now, you've done a number of things, but you've been a coach for the last 13 years. And what kind of clients have you coached?
Sure. Well, when I began, I coached men, and not anything specific, really. My niche was just as broad as can be. It was just men who wanted to have a better life. And, when I coached from this office and I had men coming to my office, I decided I didn't want to coach women because I didn't want women coming to my home office, closing the door. It just didn't feel right to me. So I coached men. And because prior to becoming a coach, I wasn't, I guess you could say, a successful entrepreneur, monetarily at least, for about 10 years. And it just sort of kind of happened by accident. Entrepreneurs started coming, business owners, and that's really what the space that I've been in for probably the last 10 years is coaching entrepreneurs and professionals, a few lawyers here and there, accountants, and both men and women, as it's turned out now, because very few people come to my office. They're everywhere. So very few people come to my office. It's usually over Zoom.
And you guys just got back from Korea. You hadn't gone in a few years, and you just shifted all the time zones, and you were coaching all your clients in Korea.
Yeah. That's a dream for me. A dream for me. So one of the main things in my life, something I deeply value, a couple of things I deeply value, is freedom and adventure. And I guess it dawned on me really about 2002 when actually I had my own business. But prior to becoming, a coach, and this is back in the early days when people were just starting to realize these things, around 2002, here I was running a business. I sold software, running a business from the basement of the home I lived in North Vancouver on a laptop. And I think I had been doing it for 2 years before it dawned on me. I thought, oh my goodness, I could be anywhere. And this is kind of the early days of people starting to think like this, right? It's not very long ago, but goodness, I can be anywhere. And although I didn't really put that to work, that realization, that awareness, until really until I married, my first trip to Korea was completely, vacation. And then as time went on, I realized my vacations got longer because I realized, like, after a few weeks of pure vacation, I can do what I do here, there. And this was like a joy to me, because here I am. Two of the things most important to me in my life is adventure. And adventure for me is at least 3 months a year on a different continent. That's part of it. And eating in funky restaurants in faraway lands where only locals go that are loud and vibrant. I mean, I just love that. And then the freedom to do so. So now when we go, and we tend to go every year and a half, we go for maybe 7-8 weeks, and I take a few weeks of vacation, and then I do my sessions from there. And as you just mentioned, Amos, other than a couple of clients who were just not prepared to, meet in the evening, their time, most of them were happy, kind enough to move their time. So I wasn't coaching at, 3 a.m. My day started about 7 a.m. and I coached until noon, 3 days a week. And that was just the coolest thing ever. A dream come true to do what I love, as many coaches I'm sure know, many people know. Do it from wherever you are, and it doesn't stop, because I got a laptop and I've got an internet connection. Nothing stops. It's the coolest thing.
Now, you've also run masterminds for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, I did. What shall I tell you about those things?
Well, please tell us about, because you were actually feeding the people too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
we were.
food like you.
Yeah.
So please tell us about the food.
Yeah, sure. So this is prior to COVID. COVID, kind of, we're a bit hard in my mastermind. So I had two meeting here in my house, just over outside those doors, is a suite. And I had this idea that, because I love community, I had this idea, and I approached my wife Yinsu about the idea. I said, honey, let's stop renting our suite. Let's put a little money into it, kick it up a notch, make it a little more funky and chic, and let's make it an Airbnb, which is what we did. And and then I created some mastermind groups, and so we would just block that day off the Airbnb calendar, and I would hold the meetings in there. And I had 2 online, 2 and 2 here locally, and we met once a month. There are like groups of 6 people, and they were all men only, and I'll tell you why that was in a moment. But we met once a month for 4 hours. They'd arrive at noon. Oh, actually, this gets us closer to 5. Once a month, we'd meet at noon. I provided all sorts of like high-end snacks, and like really good munchies, top quality munchies. And at the end, my lovely wife Yunsu would make some amazing Korean food, and she'd bring it downstairs, and everybody got to eat. Because I wanted people to have an experience, right? I wanted them to feel like, the life of a business owner, an entrepreneur, can be somewhat stressful. I wanted to spoil them big time. I didn't want to meet in a boardroom or a restaurant. I wanted to provide a beautiful couch they could just sink into, come in their sweatpants if they want to, chill out and get loved on big time. And they were very special times.
Now, why you said you gave us a little,
Yeah.
you didn't close the loop yet. You opened the loop, it didn't close.
Okay. So I was hoping you would ask. So why men? And these days of, especially, I mean, of course, it's really accelerated now, but even back then, like 5-6 years ago, when I was starting to put them together, I did get some flack from the world, like, hey, you can't do that, men only, you can't do that. And the reason was, is that I knew that there would be things talked about, because it's only men, that would not get talked about if there are women there. Just like if there were just women there, there would, like, I'll tell just a little 30-second story if I could.
Okay.
So one particular day, after we met once a month for a year. I had the guys sign a covenant. You must be here unless you're on your deathbed with the flu or you're out of town. You must be here. They had to sign a covenant, right, with each other. It was intense, because without you here, it's not the way it should be. It's not as complete as it should be, because you've got wisdom to share with everybody. So you must be here. And they built very tight bonds with each other. After 4 or 5 months, everybody arrives at 8 a.m. They're giving each other bear hugs and things, and they became very tight, and they started hanging around with each other and playing golf and going hiking with each other in between meetings. It was beautiful. But one particular day, I don't know, it was maybe like 6, 7 months into one of the meetings, and everyone would get 20 minutes on the hot seat to share what they're dreaming about, what they want to do, what's bothering them. And as one particular fella, when it's his turn came up, he was just quiet, and you could see he was tense, and he started to tear up a little bit, and everybody's just quiet. And he was a lovely guy. Everybody loved him. He had a very successful business, about 5 employees, and he just got really quiet. And then I'm getting a little emotional just reliving it right now. And he said, "You know what, guys?" He said he had a little warehouse in the Fraser Valley, and he said, "You know what? I've never told anybody this, but I probably spend 2 hours for the last year or so. I spend 2 hours in my office probably every day looking at porn. I've never told anybody before. And today's the day. I got to tell somebody."
Wow.
Like I'm getting a little weepy right now, just reliving it. And everybody was somewhere between teary and just like crying full out at him sharing this with us.
Wow.
Right. And we all gathered around him, supported him. And now he's, a few months later, he was like out of it. We just supported him. Now, if there were women there, what are the chances of him sharing that?
Well, no.
It's not going to happen.
Probably
No.
not. Yeah,
No,
probably not.
no, not going to happen. So that's why
That's beautiful.
men got stuff to talk about. Women have stuff to talk about. And that's why it was only men. So yeah, a good time it was. Powerful.
Powerful indeed. Why
Yeah.
did you get into coaching? What drew you to this field?
Yeah. So I mentioned that, I had a business prior to becoming a coach. And I guess I started just after 9/11. I got laid off, an amazing job. And and I decided that when I got laid off this job, that, I was probably, I don't know, how old was I? Maybe I was like 35 or something, and I got laid off, 37. And it was an amazing job. But I knew that the company that I worked for allowed people to be like entrepreneurs within their position. They got to create stuff, and it was such a cool job. And when I got laid off because the company got bought and merged a couple of times, I knew that, they were nice enough to give me 6 months severance pay with full benefits, because I was the first ever employee of the company. They're like, "Mel, you're special. Sorry, we got to let you go." And I lived in North Vancouver, which is where I grew up. And I spent a lot of time in Chilliwack, which is now where I live, fishing in the Chilliwack River, thinking, meditating, praying. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I ended up finding a company in Nevada that I became one of the resellers. They had a really cool cutting edge website builder software. And this is like 2002. And I became one of their resellers, and I did really, really well, operating from the basement of my house in North Van on my laptop. Right, that's what I discovered. I could do this anywhere. But we moved to Chilliwack after I had been doing that for a few years. Things are going well. My bank account says I'm happy. Should be happy. Got a nice home. Marriage is good, but probably the last 2 or 3 years of that time running that business, I'm going to say, by 2 p.m, I was just mentally and emotionally fried, completely disengaged, and really just felt like I needed to have an hour's nap. And my lovely wife, Yunsu, knew it before I did. She said, "Mel," she said, "you spend way too much time with your face in your computer screen. You need to be talking to people. Like men love hanging out with you. You need to be talking with people, men." And yeah, okay, and I guess she, I'd go out for a cup of coffee with somebody, a guy, and for maybe lunch or go for a walk or something. And I'd come back like all jacked up, like somebody shot me in the arm with something illegal, And she knew it for years, and she tried to convince me to go back to school to become a pastor, like to go to Trinity Western University to become a pastor. And I told her what that meant to her financially, and she said, okay, no, don't do that. If you don't go back to school to become a pastor. But I met a woman in my neighborhood.
Oh, Mel, he's there. Sorry, Mel, if you can hear me.
Hello.
Are we still live in the group?
I don't know. Yeah, we are. We are.
It's, hang on a
You,
second, let me just double check. I heard last was, I met a woman in, hang on a second, let me just
my
see.
neighborhood. Okay.
Let me just see if we're still live. Yeah, we are, we're still live. Okay.
Okay.
It's,
That
I apologize, I'm wired in, hardwired, and my connection, it said it's my end, so I apologize.
okay.
Well, you met a woman and
Yeah, I met a woman in my neighborhood who was studying. She was kind of a neighbor, just a few homes over, and she was studying to become a coach. And I kind of sort of knew what coaching was, like a lot of people. Like, is that therapy? Is that counseling? What is it? And she told me what it was, and I realized that's what I want to do. That is what I want to do. So I prayed about it a little bit, talked about it with Yunsu, my wife, and a few other people. I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I ended up going to school virtually to a school in Brisbane, Australia, called the International Coach Academy, now called Coach U, I think. Some coaches might know of it if they, did a program. It's a 2-year thing. I did it pedal to the metal while I ran my business. I was fried beyond belief. I did it 2 years. I did it in like 17 months, and I was just emotionally just spent, mentally spent, physically. I was spent in every way, but I did it, and by the grace of God, I had quite a few clients before I finished. And it's not to say I haven't had lots of ups and downs. As a matter of fact, I might have had while I was in school. It's funny, I'm just realizing this. While I was in school, I might have had more clients weekly than I did 3 years later after I finished school. And I don't really know what happened, but for probably up until about 5, 6 years ago, coaching was, the people that I coached were having, great, wonderful transformations. But getting clients for coaches is a challenge for most of us. And it just changed for me. Things got better like 5, 6 years ago. That's when my life changed. My coaching life changed. Because it's often up and down and up and down. You've got a week full of clients, I got no time to market or sell. And then, then you got less clients, then you're back in the marketing valley again. It's like up and down, which is a bit of a taxing way to live.
I bet it is.
Yeah, it is.
Can you share a couple of success stories? Why do you coach? Because obviously it's to impact lives. And do you have any stories that you could?
Yeah, sure. Sure. I will tell a story. So, and this is a funny story. I mean, I've got a number of them, but I'll talk about this one first, because the bizarre thing is that this young fella was probably one of my first clients, and I got him while I was going to school, in fact, and it was a woman that I was going to this coaching academy with. Her name was Sharon. She lived in Yosemite in Northern California. And, the coaching classes we were on Zoom like this, and there would be like 20, 25 people all over the world. And I guess I said a few things that she kind of thought my son-in-law would really connect well with Mel, or my future son-in-law. She got in touch with me, introduced him to me, and she said, my future son-in-law, Andy, needs some coaching, and I think he'd connect well with you. How do you feel about maybe talking to him? And I was kind of nervous, but I said, yeah, sure. This is why I'm going to school. Sure. So I ended up talking to him. His name is Andy Hines, Hines. Andy was from Nova Scotia, and he was studying, he had just gone to finished, graduated from Los Angeles Film School, like one of the premier film schools in North America. And he wanted to be the next George Lucas, like to direct crazy, wild movies, like a lot of people probably in Hollywood. And he's living in Hollywood. And he won't mind me telling this story because, of course, there's client coach confidentiality, but his testimony's on my website. That's why I can tell this story. And so Andy was doing commercials for Skechers, the
Sneakers.
the sneaker company.
Yeah.
And it was just giving him, he was on the hook for like all the equipment and paying people. And sometimes they wouldn't pay him for 3 months. They said, well, if you want to work with us, you just got to deal with it. He's this young guy out of school, but he's brilliant. And the long and short of it is that I helped him gain, through coaching, a lot of confidence. We developed a game plan on how he was going to up his game. We realized he needed an agent, and we developed this game plan for him to find an amazing agent. And today, Andy has won, without exaggeration, probably 10 Cannes Film Awards. He's been nominated for a Grammy Award. He's won like a dozen Much Music Awards. He is one of he does videos for people like Keith Urban, people like that, and rappers. So his thing became high-end music videos for people. That's what and documentaries. That he was maybe one of my first 4 or 5 clients, and I still got him on my phone. He's still willing to talk to me when I call him once in a while and say, hey, what are you doing, Andy? So that's one of my first, for sure. And another one, I will say, I have a process that I walk people through, like many coaches do, and it's really a deep process to help people discover what's important to them with their values. And because quite often, like what I do with them is once they discover their values, like mine is adventure, I have them, lots of coaches help people discover their values, but what I haven't found is someone that does what I do. When I actually help them, I ask them to write a story about what their life would look like when they discover their 7 core values. I have them write a story for each one of those values. So mine would be adventure, and I'd have them, as an example, write a deep story about what does adventure look like in the life of Mel if I had it all. Like my bucket was completely full. What does it look like?
Well, Natasha just commented because she took your course. Said
yes.
The value course through Mel is life-changing. I highly recommend. Bless you, Mel. So she's someone I know who took your course. And I have a couple friends that took your course and said it was just life-changing.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks, Natasha. I appreciate that. And because what it does is it helps people see the possibility of life that they may have never seen before. It helps them see what they cannot see, because they end up writing a story about the 7 most important areas of their life, what it would look like if they had it all. And then I asked them, okay, what is life like today? And there's, of course, there's a gap between where I am and what I want. And then I help them get it. And that is the joy part to me, when someone starts their life, business, career, marriage, maybe starts getting better, getting more confident, and they're really starting to bloom. That is why I coach, because I love to see people bloom and expand and impact their family, their kid, their neighborhood, maybe the world. That's why I coach. It's a thrill to me, a joy to me, really.
It comes out of you naturally. I can see why or maybe you had thought of being a pastor at one time. You got this fatherly, loving, kind, supportive, wrap your big arms around someone. And how should they get a hold of you, Mel? Like, I'm going to tag you in this once this goes.
Sure.
But do you have a website they can?
Yeah, sure. It is my name. It's melkaario.co, not com, just Charlie Oscar, melkaario.co. And of course, folks can find me through my Facebook,
Mhm.
I have a business Facebook page, but I frankly, I don't ever use it. And I post on LinkedIn and a few things. And I did a Facebook Live today. I'm just diving into that. It's the story of my encounter with a grizzly bear at the age of 14. You might enjoy that if you like adventure,
Well, you've told me that story, and that story is quite a story.
It is quite a story. And I that happened when I was 14. And uh, I told many people about it, but it was funny because my mom, who lived with us the last few years of her life, and that happened when I was 14, which is a little while ago. I didn't tell that story to my mom because I knew she'd chew my dad's ass. I didn't. I told it to her when we were having dinner at the dinner table. This is like 10 years ago. She was 85, and I told her the story because I knew my dad was safe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to hear Mel's story on the grizzly bear, go check out Mel's Facebook link, which will be on this. MELKAA, 2 A's, RIO, Kaario. Well, Mel, thanks for being here. Is there anything you'd like to leave? You are a very inspirational guy. Is there any words of wisdom you could give the community?
Uh, yeah. Maybe we'll talk about this sometime. You know, uh, maybe in a Facebook group, or maybe a round table that we might do at some point. I mentioned that my coaching life really changed about 5-6 years ago, in terms of the amount of clients and the living I was making, the joy, the impact I was making. And really what it came down to, I had a change of thinking and how I acquired clients. And really what it amounted to is just, how do you get clients? Well, you just, pardon my French, you just serve your ass off and give so much value away long before they ever write you a check, so that they can't wait to work with you. Just serve and serve powerfully long before they ever give you any money, or they fall so deeply in love with the experience that they just can't, they want to pay you. That's what I'll leave with folks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What a great reminder. Thanks, Mel, for being on the Empower Network. Thanks for being in the Empower Network. We'll look forward to seeing you again, probably likely on a roundtable coming up.
Yeah. Or a glass of wine, Amos.
Yeah, I need to come over for support.
You do. That's right. And some fine cheese. Okay.
Cheese. Thanks everyone for watching the Empower Network. Have a blessed day. Thanks, Mel.
Bye-bye, everybody.